What are you missing? I figured it would be 4 inches. You say I didn't see 4 inches. I saw about an inch. Huh? 3.5 more. I didn't see that. But we're gonna get started.
They make all that shit up anyways.
Where you at, what drift they don't.
Right.
What drift they don't.
Right.
But it froze overnight. If you had snow on the street overnight that froze, it'd be a problem. But we salted, so it's not.
Right. Well, I don't know. I guess they made this thing sound like it was going to be a lot bigger than it was again.
They always do.
And this is the 4th one now. This is the 4th time this. Oh, we got the big one coming, and then and everybody's buying, all their.
That's a way to safeguard themselves, though. Like, so if it is really bad, we told you. But if it's not, oh well, we got it wrong.
Yeah, but see, now
you still get paid anyway, so.
Now I'm jaded. I'm sure there's a psychological term for this, but now I just don't give a shit anymore.
Well, this is the 4th big one coming that didn't materialize.
That wasn't big.
But anyway, hey, what we're going to do today, we're going to continue with, of course, the rest, and just remembering this stuff. Gang, how important this is as we have been looking at this again and refreshed this last time, and then move with that into motivational interviewing and those topics. As we continue with that, we are also going to start the brain today and start to look at that.
Woo!
Hey, wow points from last time. Let me hear. Wow points from last time. What was somebody, wow, yes, really important. Wow, yes, I'm glad we talked about that again, because that one, I can remember that. Wow, yes, this is going to be a big one. Anything from yes.
I just think the external interruptions are important.
Okay, and why? What is that all about for you?
Because just like the heavens reward fallacy, just because things are okay in treatment doesn't mean there's not other things out there that.
And helping that client be ready for that. You guys, I mean, sometimes you'll see that client, and then they also, with that, and heaven's reward is on this list, of course, but in addition to that, I'm in treatment, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm trying to make amends, this and that. And then, when that dirty letter from the power company shows up, they're really not only upset, but offended. Like, how dare them? Didn't they realize I'm in recovery now? And you'll see that kind of reasoning, and that can accelerate itself to that point that once again it becomes a threat to early recovery. So cool, important, yes, very important.
Would that be in line with people who are like, my wife hates me, but I went to rehab, and why does she still hate me?
Right, exactly, the same thing. And that again, heaven's reward fallacy in general, and then that as it's linked with these external kinds of things going on once again.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Touching on this just a little bit, it's maybe remotely close, but maybe not really. So, I have a friend who met their partner in their addiction. Partner didn't really know that they were an addict. It was something that they hid really well. And now that they're in recovery, they're a totally different person.
Right.
And the partner's like, ugh,
They don't like the person
yeah.
who they are in recovery.
And so that's sad, right? Because this person is totally in love with their wife, but the wife is like, ugh, I don't know who you are now. And now they're getting their shit together, and it's like, wow, that's a kick in the teeth, I don't know.
That could kind of wrap around that a little bit.
Yeah.
That could kind of wrap around that a little bit.
Already have.
And again, one of those external interruptions, one of those things going on like that, yes. And you've got to, and help that client realize, be ready for this stuff. Reality is still reality. Mm-hmm. Just because you're at a meeting, seeing a counselor in a treatment center doesn't mean life stops.
Right.
And they've got to be ready for those kinds of things. Now that's another issue on top of it. Mm-hmm. Of course, the issue, yeah. And that could certainly be a risk.
Really, because hello, now I'm clean, you don't love me, but when I was an addict, that's who you fell in love with,
Yeah.
That doesn't reiterate go out and use. I don't know what you know what I mean?
Well, there you go. And you hear that a lot. I mean, that's a common issue.
Really?
It's like, I liked you better when you were drunk,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And so, especially another thing you'll see with that is overcure with that for that person. They're in a relationship. They get into recovery and they go full force. They're not doing 90 and 90. They're doing 275 and 90. And the next thing you know, I saw more of you when you were drunk. Now I
Right.
never see it. You're this and that. I feel completely,
Right.
and things like that. I feel like I'm not a part of your life anymore. You're so busy with this and AA and all and this stuff and everything. And so that's another issue. That
Yeah.
is. So and it can wrap around that relationship stuff a little bit. Other wow points from last time. There's got to be wow points. I would hope there's wow points. Are you guys incorporating this stuff? This is the stuff you carry with you, you guys. This is bread and butter counseling stuff. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this arousal level changes, this gotta be kind of like, I can understand the stress thing, but
The arousal thing?
yeah, the arousal thing.
A question you have about it?
Yeah.
Let's look at it again. And remember, the idea is this. We're going along, and the Hans-Saley model, once again, you guys, was never developed as a part of an addiction thing or anything. It's about how stress causes physical illness, that kind of thing. But it works here. The idea, we're going along, and then right here comes a stressor. First, our stress kind of dips, and then that resistance level goes sky high. This is fight or flight. And the whole idea is then that, well, okay, we got a problem here. Fight or flight kicks in. Let's solve the problem, and then the parasympathetic is going to bring it back down to where it belongs. That would be nice. And then we just go about our way, until, well, I brought that a little bit too low. We go about our way until, well, the next stressor comes along and the same thing happens. But what if that person, and it doesn't have to be addiction necessarily. People can be in very stressful situations in life without being in addiction. But think about it. The daily life of somebody, truly addiction, the daily life is one hassle, stress, problem after another, after another, after another. That person, they're constantly chasing their drug, they're constantly this, they're constantly that, and everything else. What happens? Instead of this, well, everything's back to normal, let me get back down here. For that person, nothing is ever normal. They stay up here at this elevated stress resistance level. Now in the Saley program, once again, this is called the resistance phase. And again, that heightened level of resistance, that alone is not good for us. In the Saley model, the problem is, at this point, and as we're going to see, fight or flight is very, very expensive stuff, you guys. Every part of that body, every system, every organ of that, fight or flight involves every part of that body, and it's very expensive. And at some point, if you stay that high, and I mean now resistance high, not drug high, you stay that high, that long, at some point, that body's going to start to wear out, get tired. And of course, that's when we're going to start to suffer those psychosomatic. Psychosomatic is not all in the head. Don't forget, psychosomatic's not all in the head. Psychosomatic is very real, but related to psychological stress. Those wear out diseases. And of course, this is how Saley would explain why we have high blood pressure, heart disease, all those other kinds of things like that, and the exhaustion stage. But the point for addiction is this. Gang, you stay this high, this long. And once again, I mean stress resistance high. I don't mean drug high. But the thing is, you stay at this heightened level of stress resistance. You're going to see a tolerance effect similar to drugs. I mean, this is just another chemical situation going on. It's chemistry that heightens this stuff in the first place. It's chemistry that keeps it there. Just like drugs. I mean, drugs aren't magic. It's chemistry. And it's the same thing with the chemistry in the body that's keeping that resistance higher like that. And at some point, you're going to start to feel some tolerance. At some point, this starts to feel normal to that person. This level. That's feeling normal to that person. And then, one day, for whatever reason, they get yanked into recovery. And come back down here with the rest of us, where you belong. Do the serenity prayer, sing Kumbaya, and be happy. You're back down here where the normal people are. The only problem is, this person has been at this level of all that stress and everything so long, that's what feels normal to them now. And when they get yanked back down to where the rest of us are, and we expect that they should be happy. That doesn't feel good to them. It feels very stressful, tense to them. They don't like it down here anymore. That may be normal for you, but that feels that being stuck down here can be as stressful for that person as up there it can be for others. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's a drag. Yes, sir.
Yeah, wouldn't it be something like post-traumatic stress disorder or something like that?
You got it.
Yeah, okay.
When we see this, you got it. What is it? It's that brain has learned how to be stressed out now. You're exactly on target. You got it. And the fact is, yeah, PTSD is a very similar phenomenon. And the thing is that now coming down here, that doesn't feel normal to that brain anymore. And what was the point? How is this once again a challenge, a threat for early recovery? Because if I'm down here and I want to get back up here, what's going to be one of the quickest, easiest ways to do it? Use again. Relapse. Does that answer your question? Does that get it? Cool. And you're right on target with that. You're right. That's what PTSD, and we're going to see that hyper awareness and anxiety wiring that happen. But it's the same thing. I mean, what is that? It's PTSD. It's the same thing. It's that constant stress. PTSD once again. And of course, that came out of the Vietnam era. Once again, PTSD. And you're out there in the jungle, you're out in the bush, and it's a really rough day. And not only did you damn near get your ass killed, but one of your buddies did, and all that. It's not like at the end of the day you can come back and say, Sarge, I quit, I'm done, I've had with this bullshit, I'm going home. You can't do that. Guess where you are again tomorrow? And the next day, 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 and the next day. That kind of, and that's what that PT, and every day. What is it? That brain becomes a little bit better worrier about her. Every day. And especially with that ongoing, inescapable, lethal threat stress like that. That brain becomes more and more a better worrier about her, more hypersensitive, and all this stuff, and becomes an exquisitely good worrier about her. And then one day, well, here's your papers. You're going home. Congratulations. You think just because you get on that plane and land in New York, you think that something, your brain says, well, everything's better now. No. You get off that plane, you're still that good now worrier about her. You don't have people shooting at you to worry about anymore. And so the next thing you know, and again, that's where the sleep difficulty, all of the things, the mood. What does PTSD kind of sound like? It kind of sounds like what? Post-acute withdrawal syndrome. Yes, you're right on target with that. It's all that stuff. Does that make sense, you guys? Sure. Any other thoughts? Wild points?
Just that there's as far as the motivational issues, there's no wrong reason in the beginning to come into recovery.
No, there's not. I don't care why. And those damn fool counselors that argue and fight about a client because they're there for the wrong reason. That is so stupid and so destructive. I don't care why you're here. Being here right now is better than not being here. Let's talk about it. Yes, at some point, you guys, we do want this to move from external, secondary gain, external motivation, external payoff, into intrinsic motivation, intrinsic reward. At some point, I'm doing this, the right thing for the right reason. I'm doing what's best for my recovery, not because I have to, or else my wife will be mad. Not because I have to, or else, well, there goes my probation. No, I'm doing that because that's what feels good and right to me. But that's not, come on. You don't expect that in the beginning. A client and is there really anything really wrong with not wanting to go to jail anyway? Is there really something wrong with that? Come on, guys. Is there really something wrong with not wanting to lose my job? That's the wrong reason for being it. bull, knock it off. Do you see what I'm saying with this stuff? So that, good. Any other thoughts, questions, wild points with this? I guess we did get farther down than I thought.
We get to 10, so we're on 11.
Okay, well, and there is heaven's reward, and does everybody get this one? Is everybody cool with this? And we did just, again, talk about it in conjunction with the external stuff. But does everybody get that heaven's reward? And again, gang, listen very carefully for that language. You're going to hear it. And this one can be real sneaky, it can be real subtle, and it can be real insidious. Listen carefully for that language. What language? The I deserve a break today now language. Does that make sense? And listen for that and catch it when it's still simple and subtle. Because that if that person, they keep going with that, it's going to, the next thing you know, they're running with that and they're getting pissed off. This isn't feeling so great. And gang, don't forget, one of the first major maybe challenges to that is going to be post-acute withdrawal. I quit drinking, I quit using drugs, I should be feeling all kinds of better right now. I'm not feeling all kinds of better. This is bullshit. I deserve to feel better right now. Physically, emotionally. Not only do I deserve a break, you better understand now and stop being mad at me. You better, hey probation officer, hey this, hey that, hey fate, hey Amarin, hey God, y'all better give me a break now. And when that stuff doesn't deliver itself, that can be a real toxic situation. Real serious for that person. Does that make sense? Does everybody see that? Listen for the subtle heaven's reward language. What that person is saying. Are you hearing a hint there? Are you hearing something that, you know, this sounds like kind of like this person, they're setting themselves up for a deserve. And a what? Not only a deserve, but a what? Probably. Good chance of it. Disappointment. A deserve and a disappointment. And, well, there goes another disappointment. I thought this was supposed to be good. I thought recovery. I did the right thing. This isn't doing so good. This isn't going so great. This is a fuck you, fuck this. Does that make sense? And that, you've been there, haven't you? Yeah. You know, I can see the recognition on your face. I can see it. And guys, listen, the sooner you can catch that, the better. The sooner you can help that client. And again, it's not, I heard you say that. No, but how can you, in a subtle way, start to react to counteract that from the beginning? Help that client keep a rational, centered, reasonable line of expectation for this stuff.
You said deserve what language?
Pardon me?
You said
Listen for that heaven's reward language. Listen for that I deserve good stuff language.
Okay.
You hear what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you're going to hear it. It could be very subtle, but you're going to hear it, and you need to. And again, it's not like you throw the pen down and say, you big damn fucking idiot. No, not that. But embrace that and let's talk about that. You know, it's like I told you the story, I think, you guys. This is at Stonehenge that turned into SECTA, the major long-term residential program in this area, and that was my baby. I designed that program, and we built it, and I ran it. And like I said, I am still flirting with whatever it is that time. So bear with me. And when a client would complete treatment, and they would, I told you about this, didn't I? And what a celebration. They called it the graduation ritual. It had been a part of it for years and years, even back in the OTC days. And I mean, what a deal. I mean, everybody would, all the clients, they would dress in their best, what they had, their best, and sometimes they didn't have a lot, but they would dress in their best. Of course, all the family members, the close friends, and all that people to the person graduating. And I mean, what a feast. And the party was on. A very healthy, good, loving life, loving recovery party, and all that kind of stuff was on. And at some point, and the client is sitting, kind of like I'm here, and you're the other clients, and I'm the graduating client. And every one of you, oh, you know, you have been such an inspiration. Oh, you're gonna, you know, all just everybody a testimonial. And then of course the family members. Oh, honey, we thought we'd lost you. I'm so thankful that you give them. And then the other counselors would have their say. And then the last would be me. And I would also, I mean, you know, yes, this is a celebration. But one of the things I would always say, and I want you to remember something. What a wonderful day this is. What a happy day. And all that. But I want you to remember something. Most of the rest of the world right now don't know or care that you're graduating from this drug treatment center. Most of the rest of the world don't know or care that you're. And I want you, when you go back out to that world and that life, don't you think anybody owes you anything for what's going on today? Do you see what I'm saying with that? And the staff would, they would almost infallibly after, Dan, you always got to be such a fucking downer. You know, and stuff like that. Why do you got to, what am I doing there, you guys? Heaven's reward, let's head this off. Don't go out there thinking. Because you would see that. Somebody would graduate treatment 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and again, gang, you know, and then we scare that person, you know, we watch out for this, watch out for that, watch out for this, watch out for this, and everything else, and you know, and all this stuff, and before you fall in love with somebody, well, first you got to get a flower, and if you can grow that for a year, then get a dog, and if the dog don't die in a year, then maybe you can go on a date, and watch out for this feeling, and watch out for that feeling, and do this and do that, and all the other stuff. And everything like that. We got that person, they're terrified anyway. They're walking into the night, oh my God, I had a feeling, oh shit, maybe that means I want, and all that other stuff. And what do they got waiting for them? Once again, that dark apartment building. And next door the party is on and you can hear it through the wall, and all they got that night, that Saturday night, is reruns of the Golden Girls. And they're sitting here, this is what the fuck I did. You see what I'm saying? This is power. This is real stuff, you guys. And that client has to be ready for this. This is ready. You guys want to be good? Please never, never, never forget this stuff. Yes.
I had a counselor who made me sit with myself for a week. No, because I didn't know how to be with myself. I was always surrounded by people, and, you know, they would take my mind off of whatever. But he said that in order to get through this, I was going to have to learn myself and enjoy my own company.
Right.
So for an entire week, he made me sit. Like anytime I was outside of therapy or anything, I was by myself. No contact with anybody else, and I would write and about my experience, and it was one of the best things I ever had to do for myself.
Very wise, neat little thing. Cool.
Very
Guys,
cool.
never forget this. Never forget any of this, but this is so important. And listen for those subtle little I deserve statements. Heaven's reward kinds of themes. They're going to be very subtle sometimes. The approach avoidance conflict. And again, gang, what is that all about? Think about this. Think about this. Once again, we're here enmeshed in our hedonic calculus. Do I even have to do this anymore? Don't even have to do this, really. All you have to do is say hedonic calculus, right? I hope by now. And again. And everybody knows what all that is now, right? Do I have to fill in the blanks even, or any of that kind of stuff? And here we are in our hedonic calculus. And then, whether it's an intervention, whether or not we, one way or another, and we discover, and we start to hear about this thing called recovery, we hear about this new thing called new life, and how great, exciting that's going to be. And that does sound good. And guys, you got to remember, people, I mean, why would somebody really consider the hassle, the bullshit, the fear of going into recovery anyway? Why? Because they want the good things life have to offer. one of the good things, and of course, that also means to go away the bad things they're experiencing now. And all that stuff. And those bad things, and again, they're probably real, big. And so whether, again, a caring family member, a counselor, somebody else, come be here, this new life. And of course they want the good thing. That's why the heaven's reward fallacy kicks in, because they want it now, damn it. I want to have this now. I want to have forgiveness now. I want to have love now. I want to have intimacy now. I want this now. I want that now. That's where that thing comes in. But they want that. They want the good things in life. But the problem is, don't forget, you guys, and this is so damn important, they're still doing this because somebody finished that statement.
It works.
It's working. They have developed that addiction survival persona. It's working. They have their way of justifying this. And it's working. They have, in spite of, the mounting costs, they figured out how to survive that. They're doing that. It's working. Gang, don't forget, what is the floaty things? What were the floaty things? And yeah, the first floaty thing is the actual substance, the drug, the alcohol, but what was that second floaty thing is, hey, I'm pretty good at what I do here. Do you see what I'm saying with this? And then, however it manifests itself, and again, a caring family member, a counselor, an interventional, so whoever, a cop, a judge, or whoever, and come here, be here. And gang, that looks from here, that can look, this is so damn important, don't you ever forget this stuff. This is counselor stuff, right? This is bread, butter, nuts, and bolts right here. And from here, that does look so good. Now, don't forget, it can also look like a lofty goal that could be maybe unobtainable. You know, we're checking into, what are we checking into? That client's self-efficacy, outcome efficacy, and things like that. But it does look so good. It could feel, that would look so good, yes.
Is that where like the badness kind of comes in, where like someone who is in a situation like they're used to being in that mess would be more afraid to go and try something new? Because
Hold that, you're right, yes. Hold that. It does look so good. I think I'll try it. The problem is, and in the beginning, we do see that recovery honeymoon, that boost of energy. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to do it. But the problem is, the closer this person gets to that, at some point, the closer they get to this, the scarier it feels. What would be things about that that's going to be scary? Say it again. Say what you were going to say again. Say it again. What would be scary about it? Here's the problem, guys. The closer they get to this, the scarier it feels. Counselors don't fucking look at this. Damn it. What would be scary?
it's unfamiliar.
Unfamiliar. The devil you know better than the devil you don't know. It's unfamiliar. They don't know. What else is going to be? What else? A scary thing.
What if I fail?
What if I fail? That client's not afraid of success. They're terrified of failure. You know what? It's one thing to want something so bad. But, I mean, think about it. This is the phone you've been wanting for how long? This is the one. Here, take your phone.
Oh, damn.
You see it? You see?
Yeah.
And that's it. That's it, you guys. I'm good. I'm finding this is. Yeah, you fill me with all this hope and dreams and all this good shit and everything else, and it's gonna fucking be taken away from me. But that. What is that one, by the way? That's gonna be a real big. You're assessing real careful what? Outcome efficacy? Don't forget, what is out? Yeah, I can get there. Look at, I'm getting there. I can get there.
It doesn't
The closer
matter.
they get there, the scarier it becomes. And the scarier this becomes, and here's a very important part of this that counselors don't understand. I don't know why this stuff is so hard for fucking counselors to get. I don't know. I really don't. It's like you know, the thing the other day when I said that person needs to grieve the loss of their drug, and that seems so antithesis to most counselors. What do you mean they gotta grieve? They should be happy. I know, you dumbass, but this is the way the brain works. It's the same thing with this. Counselors don't get this. The closer they get to this, the more afraid they start to feel. Guess what? The better that starts to look again. You see what I'm saying with that? I don't have to do with it. You know, and what would this be? This would be just a basic case of the fuck it's. It ain't worth it. I'm too afraid. I'm too this and fuck it. Let me go back. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying with this? And gang, this is a powerful dynamic in this early recovery. This is a very powerful dynamic. Yeah, of course I want that, but, you know, and all that kind of thing. You know, and then the counselor, when that client does start to do a turnabout, that counselor, what's the matter? You don't like that? What's the matter with you? I will hunt you down. I will hunt you down. No, it's not that. It's that client is afraid. And so this approach avoidance conflict. Of course they want that. What the hell? Of course they do. But the closer they get to it, the scarier it is. And the scarier that is, the better the orthodontic calculus begins to look again. Does that make sense?
That's when you kind of justify, right? Like, well, it wasn't that bad, and I hadn't gotten in that much trouble. I hadn't lost everything yet, you know?
There you go. Yes, exactly. This is going to kick in full force, isn't it? What is this? The cognitive dissonance resolution stuff. The way I justify this, the way I live with myself, the way I explain this to myself and justify it. You're absolutely right. And gang, just like with everything else here, and listening for and paying attention to this approach of it can be very subtle. You got to listen for that. And be ready to address it. And gang, don't forget the other thing. Because this is going to be another one of these cases where this client is going to start to denigrate self. I really must be a dumb motherfucker. I'm getting this close to that, and I'm feeling this, and all the time that. What the fuck is wrong with me? Maybe I am the one and only, the big dumbass motherfucker that's not. If I'm that stupid, maybe I don't deserve it. How can I be this close to everything I say I want, and all of a sudden, I'm about ready to turn around? I must be the dumbest motherfucker on earth. You see what I'm saying? That alone, that becomes another, what? Use cue in and of itself. Just know that I'm that damn mad at myself, denigrating myself that way, stuff like that. This is where you have to help the client understand these dynamics. Help the client understand those arousal dynamics, understand this approach avoidance dynamics. All this stuff. Do you see what I'm saying with this? That's the good counselor. Now, what is the idiot counselor is this starts to happen right here. That's when they start to what? Well, maybe you're full of shit. Maybe you didn't really want to. Maybe you did. I will hunt you down. You see what I'm saying? You guys, this is what's going to make the difference for your client. Understanding, seeing this, feeling this with that client from that very start. And I don't want to act, look, sound, or feel preachy. But I am kind of preaching to you right now. Damn it, if you want to be that counselor that's going to be somebody in that, you see what I'm saying? This is so important. This is so important. And every person in this room. And again, I grieve for our colleagues who are not here today. I know the weather is kind of screwy today. But the thing is that every person in this room can do this if you embrace this stuff. If you understand what this is and embrace it. I come in here on a Tuesday or Thursday morning and ask for wow points. I want to start hearing wow points. I want you guys to be wowing this stuff. Does that make sense? Get excited about it. Tell your brain, this, yes, I'm addicted to coke, yes! We got to go there. We got this. You see what I'm saying with this? Unexpected ancillary crisis events. Once again, crisis in life. Now, this is just ongoing life and old, new environment issues and problems and stuff like this. But another one is what? Unexpected. Life has a little way, and you don't need to be in recovery for this one, do you? Life has a little way of sneaking up and kicking in the ass. Gang, sometimes that's all it takes. You know, this is a big one, and help your client be ready for this. I often talk about, and remember, I don't talk about relapse prevention. What do I talk about? Who remembers? What do I call it? Use decision crisis management. I don't talk about relapse prevention. That's, you know, I think this is a little. You ever notice? There's a lot of things I think they do stupid. You ever notice that? Mm-hmm. Here's another one. Relapse is going to happen in your recovery. You're going to relapse on that one. It's a part of who would that mock? Okay, your tooth's all fixed, but guess what? One of these days you're gonna lose it. Come on, really?
Prepare them for.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, but it's sometimes the language matters.
Yeah.
So I mean, relapse is something that has occurred that you now have helplessly, haplessly endured, and hopefully you endure it well and can get back on track. We set that client up for this helpless, hapless event it's going to happen. It's a part of recovery. You're going to relapse.
Yeah, that's so.
I've had people tell me that their counselors told me that relapse is just a part of recovery, and she was like, it's cool to know that I have permission to someday relapse. And I was like, I was a fucking
I think that's toxic. How about this? You are going to encounter probably a lot, especially early on, use decision crisis events. You're going to be confronted, whether it's still unaddressed or still very powerful use cue associations, classical conditioning, or other things like that. You see what I'm saying with this stuff, you guys? You are going to, and this is where preparation is right. You are going to be confronted with use decision crisis events. You can do something about it. When we talk about relapse, the way it's something that's going to happen and you can do nothing about it. Mm-hmm. You can learn from it, but it's, gang, sometimes that next relapse is the last relapse. I talk about use decision crisis. You're going to have use decision crisis event. Yes. You're going to be confronted with, and maybe a bunch early on. But you can manage that. Do you see the difference between you are going to be confronted with use decision? I just gave you something, didn't I? Power. You have that decision. Relapse is going to happen. But with this, it's a use decision crisis. You see that? And sometimes semantics do matter, you guys. And so what I talk about, instead of relapse prevention, I talk about use decision crisis management. Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying with this? And the thing is, you guys, that very often when we talk, when you call it relapse, you used to say whatever else, relapse is often considered an insidious, slow, sneaky, little process where everything moves closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to the precipice until at some point it's too late, you fall over. And then what we do, and you know, the farther back from the edge of that cliff we can catch that, the better. And things like that. And again, I'm going to be talking to my client about use decision crisis events, not relapse prevention. But sometimes a person can be genuinely, completely enmeshed in all the right ways with all the right reasons and all the right stuff and everything else, and life just comes along and smashes them from behind and they didn't see it coming, and it knocks them over and they're done. Does that make sense? It happens, you guys. And so another part, helping that client be ready for that also. You know, a major such kind of an issue is, you know, your client, me and my dad have not gotten along. We haven't talked. We didn't talk for 4 years. We never got along. He hated who I was, what I became. He this and that, everything else, and that. And finally, I'm trying this. Me and Dad are finally talking a little bit, and I can't. This is great. I love this. Me and Dad. You know, guess what? Tomorrow, Dad drops over dead of a heart attack. All of the best, great. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes that's it. Game. And it wasn't that they didn't want to get better. It wasn't that they weren't. No. It was just life that does that once in a while. I saw this hand first, and then your hand right here. Your hand, and then hand back here. Yes.
I was just going to say, so it's basically like making sure that when you're addressing a client initially, that you help them have new ways to deal with stressors that might come out of nowhere maybe before.
And ready for that also. Yes, exactly.
Like
And
what you
building.
can do in the event that that happens. Because they probably don't have other things that they would go and do their job.
Exactly. And back in those good old days, it wouldn't even take that much of a problem, let alone this very real problem. And of course, that's it, pocket, and that kind of a thing. So yes, just building that. Do you hear what I'm saying? I'm seeing thought on your face again. I'm seeing thought on your face. Are you guys getting this stuff? Are you hearing it? Yes, sir.
Yes, so that would be something like expect the unexpected.
Let's say it.
Prepare for the unexpected.
Be ready for the unexpected. Let's not say expect necessarily. I don't want to build it to where, you know what? Because I don't want that, the minute things start to go good, something, what is that called? The other shoe syndrome? Mm-hmm. I don't want to build another shoe syndrome in them. So let's not expect, because the unexpected always means bad stuff. Let's not expect, but let's be ready for it. Does that make sense, you guys? You said good. I love that. Again, your PTSD question. These insights, these ideas, these insights, your ability to reckon this with your own experience and stuff like that. Are you getting this, you guys? Why am I spending so much time? I thought we already talked about this, Kels, anyway, didn't we? At the end of last night? Yeah, we sure did. Why am I doing it again? Because it's that damn important. This is nuts and bolts, make it or break it stuff. Everybody cool? Questions, thoughts, reactions?
I was wondering where you were about 21 years ago.
Where I was?
Yeah.
Right here, probably. Well, not in this room. We didn't have this one yet, but I was at ICC someplace. And raising hell on a motorcycle and...
Yeah.
Promoting rock and roll.
He said promoting rock and roll.
Promoting rock concerts. I was producing rock concerts and that kind of. But no, right here, doing this. This one's a big one, you guys. What do I mean by this one? Do you remember, again, our hedonic calculus? And this is such it's a probability, a reemergence of the ones and twos. Now, do I have to even go into what ones and twos are? But a reemergence.
No.
And this is so damn important. First of all, guys, don't forget, how does it go? Right thing, wrong time, right thing, wrong way, right thing. Well, this is going to be, if you're not careful. First of all, don't forget this person, number one. As they start to remove the mental anesthesia, whatever that was for them, they are going to start to think and feel again. And one of the things that they may start to think and feel about are the ones and twos. Don't forget, I just spent the last 11 and a half years, whatever you want to call it, and however what a fucking mess it was and everything. But what was I not dealing with that? And now all of a sudden that mental anesthesia is gone. I'm feeling that again, and I'm thinking about that and remembering that. And besides that, as I start to move this way, one of the questions I may start to ask myself is, as I emerge from this, I may start, what the fuck was I thinking? What was I thinking? Yeah, I'm not even that far down the road yet. Got a ways to go yet. And don't forget all these other things, approach avoidance and everything else. But this person does. They get to wonder, what was I thinking? What was wrong with me? Can you believe the shit I did? Can you believe it? What? And gang, this person, and I often, we talked last semester when we looked at MISA, the last psychology, remember hypochondriasis? Mm-hmm. What did I call that? That eternal search for non-solution? Mm-hmm. Why is it that person's not happy when the doctor says they're fine? Because they need to believe there is something wrong with them, because worrying about this helps me not worry about whatever it is. I don't know what I'm worried about. Remember all that? And so when the doctor says you're fine, well, there goes my out, so to speak. Well, again, this is another one of your lunatic professors' conceptual neologisms. Don't look this one up. But I also talk about psychochondriasis. And what was that?
Wasn't that where they trick, or they think that they have a disorder? There has to be a reason that they did this.
Again, in other words, it's not a medical problem, it's a mental problem. Mm-hmm. And then, I'm on the internet, I got this, I got that, and everything, mm-hmm. and all that stuff. It's the same thing, but instead of medical, and again, gang. Well, we see, at some point, yes, I've emerged from this darkness. I'm moving, I got a ways to go. I got all these things to watch out for, don't forget all that, but I'm still, and at some point I'm sitting there thinking, what the fuck was I thinking? Mm-hmm. And listen for this very carefully. Listen for psychochondriasis language of this person, because at some point they may need to find a reason. Look how nuts I was. What kind of a nuts was I anyway? I need a nuts here to explain this to me. Does that make sense? Somebody help me. What's my psychological disorder? You see what I'm saying? To help me. I mean, I can't. I need some reason. I must have been crazy. Could you help me? Could you give me a crazy for that? Could you help me have a crazy that's going to help me explain to myself what the fuck I was doing? Do you see what I'm saying with this? Do you see this? And that client, they'll start to look for that crazy, whatever it may be. What's the psychological disorder? The psychiatric disorder? What's this and that? Can I get somebody help me? I need to believe I was crazy. How could I explain look what I was doing here? Look at this. Look what do you know what I was fucking, you see what I'm saying with this? Now, this isn't every client. None of this is every client, but it's what you need to be looking for. So that you're ready with every client whenever of those things happen.
Isn't substance abuse disorder in the DSM? Couldn't you just diagnose them with that?
No, that doesn't explain it to them. Oh. All that does is help reinforce how stupid and crazy this was.
But isn't that a problem anyways?
That's a very good question. But
isn't that a problem in general anyways? Like, I can remember this push for, you're depressed, so let's give you an antidepressant. Right. Let's do this, let's do that. You're on these medications, so you're not even getting to, you know what I mean? You're not even,
that's it.
Yeah, I mean.
But that is one reason why sometimes many addicts really embrace that. Yes, I'll take that. Yes, I'll take it. Why?
Yeah.
Because I just answered your question for you. What was wrong with you? What the hell were you thinking? Guys, here's the point of that. You know what? Another just sidebar to that thing you just said. Mm-hmm. I want to get back. Is what happens is, that person sometimes that early recovery. Yes, give me the antidepressant. Yes, mm-hmm. That's one, why? Because that finally was, okay, well, that's fine, I see, okay, now I see why I did this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
But then you're taking a
My problem is,
medication.
what happens?
Then you're taking a medication that you don't need to take because
Well,
you're in a
the other thing is
state,
that
and
they go to your
then
meeting, they tell you you're full of shit, you're still on drugs and stuff. But,
Right.
and that kind of
Tell
thing.
'em to go fuck
But the
themselves.
point of this right now is, you guys, the point of this right now is, if that person, and again, none of these things, it's not that every person has every one of these things, but you have to be ready and looking out for all of it all the time so you can head this off in the past. And again, this incredibly important thing, if this client, if they get so possessed with, and again, it's all, I'm loving this, I'm loving it, this is really, and they start to look back, what the fuck was I thinking? How did I let myself get to that point? What was wrong with me? And sometimes that's enough for the client, and maybe, well yeah, I'm good. But sometimes if that client gets too involved in that, the next thing you know, they got to find that answer. I'm not gonna go, do you realize, do you know some of the fucking things I did here? In that, do you understand? In that, I need to have a reason why I was like that. I need somebody. And then what happens is somebody comes along and grants them that diagnosis, that disorder. And how can this be a threat to early recovery? Because guess what now? All of a sudden, all of their energy goes to their new psychological disorder instead of their recovery program. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And it happens, you guys. And of course, then a few of the complications are, you're absolutely right. So now we load them up on all those psychotropics, which means that guess what? Now they don't get to think about the stuff they probably ought to start thinking about. And the other thing is, now they get to go to their AA meeting. Hi, I'm Joe Blow, and you're full of shit, Joe Blow. You're still on drugs. Don't you fucking try and come into this, you know what? Don't you try and bullshit a bullshitter. If you ever say that to somebody, I will hunt you down. But you hear what I'm saying with this stuff, you guys? Psychochondritis is this. But then on top of that, sometimes, as this person is in this, again, seeking to find their explanation, and the reemergence of these very real things, those are real. Those are they are fuel pellets for this whole hedonic calculus in the first place. Don't forget, once again, at least this theory, Celts, you don't have to be me. And I do offer. There could be somebody they've been listening to what I'm saying to you right now, and they could walk in this door. And it's a colleague of mine that we've been working together for the last 35 years. And he could say, hey everybody, my name's Tom, and I really like Dan. We're good friends, kind of, maybe. Well, sometimes we kind of argue a lot, but you know what? He's a good guy and everything else, but you know what? He's full of shit on this one. He's full of shit. That's not right. No, everybody, people do self-destruct just for the fun of it. It's called a disease. You see what I'm saying? And you guys, any way you look at it, it's objective, yes. Gang, no, I'm not objective here. I do. The old way, this old way, people do self-destruct for the fun of it because we're just that stupid. It's a disease. Why do I reject that? Because it's not working. Because we're not doing any better now than we were 30 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago, this stuff in the first place. When this disease got invented. It's not helping anybody. That's what we gotta look. And gang, these ones and twos are fueling this whole hedonic calculus in so many ways. And when this person, again, number one, just removing themselves from the mental anesthesia means they get to start to think about more stuff, feel about more stuff, including ones and twos. And then as they start to wonder what the hell was going on here anyway, well, how did I do this? Why? I know why. Or how about this, another scenario? And again, guys, don't forget, it's not that everybody has every one of these things. You just have to be vigilantly aware of these in a way that you're ready to help that client and head that off at the pass as soon as possible if you do. How about this? Another thing with this is, here's this person. And let's say somebody in their middle 20s. And they for whatever reason, they're here, they're going. And all of a sudden, one day, just as this young woman is feeling pretty good about things, and she did it and everything else. Knock, knock, knock. Hi, honey, daddy's home. The reappearance in her life of the perpetrator of the number ones of the sexual abuse and the physical abuse in her life. You see what I'm saying? It happens, you guys. So it's not just a mental reemergence of it. Sometimes a very real reemergence of those ones and twos. And that can be, once again, one of those bangs. You see what I'm saying? I don't care how good you're fucking, I don't have this and everything else. There it is. Open the door. Honey, daddy's home. That's it. Do you see what I'm saying with this? Do you see what I'm saying with this, you guys? That can be powerful stuff. These kinds of things with this is where I hope you have built, what did we say? And harp on. I hope by this you have built that empathy bond, therapeutic relationship in a way that person can trust and believe in you. There's sometimes when they just, you know what? I'm fucking afraid. I'm scared. And I'm fucking thinking about using. And they know they can say that to you without you blowing up and saying you're so fucking full of shit. You see what I'm saying? That ability. You know, that's one of the, I got a good friend. One of my very best friends. He, this year, is celebrating 39 years of recovery. He does a lot of stuff in those. If somebody were to walk up to him, and we fight about this all the time. We're like brothers. We're best. We fight about this like if somebody walked in and said, to him, let's say, I'm thinking like, he would shove that up that person's ass one way up and down and another and this and that. You're so fucking full of shit. You don't want to fucking get better, and you're not going to get fucking better until you fucking want to get better, and there's not a fucking thing I can do. And when you're ready to get fucking better and get real and get your fucking head out of here, fucking come and see me. Anybody who goes to 8 meetings, you know who I'm talking about, don't you?
I actually feel like I know
who you're
this
talking
guy.
about. I know who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Is his name Frank?
No, that's not this guy. He's not down in this area. He lives up front. But the thing is this.
I'm pretty sure his name is Frank.
The thing is that, guess what? There are counselors that are doing that too. There are counselors. Right now, somebody is sitting in a counselor's office listening to something like that right now. You see what I'm saying with that? And all that kind of stuff. And gang, that client, especially when that rubber really hits the road, this kind of stuff really happens. Something bad in general, but these are really loaded, aren't they? The ones and twos, and that kind of thing like that.
Hey, when you said a person goes towards their new life and they start thinking like, oh, why the hell did I do that? It made my brain go back to that story of the woman who sold her kid to the dope dealer.
Right.
What did you tell her when she was asking, why would I do that? When she finally came, like, what was how did you communicate that with her?
By the time she had gotten to that point, I had already told her lots of stuff. Like, what did I say? All that psychology and addiction last semester, what did I say? Not only do you need to know it, who else needs to know it?
The client.
The client. By the time we already talked about all the learning theory, classical conditioning, all this kinds of stuff, self-efficacy, all that kind of a thing. I by the time she got to that, how could I have done that, and things like that. We had already worked on de-insanitizing that client, getting her, so that, matter of fact, by the time, because actually, it's almost like you were there because she did. We did have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you tell me. What a wonderful way to assess. Did she get this? And she did. She had it well.
Okay.
And you see what I'm saying? And she owned it. Of course, when we do that, once again, don't forget, understanding is not endorsement or approval or agreement. And when she finally understood why she did that, that didn't mean that all of a sudden, once again, it was okay for me to do that. No, it wasn't a justifying explanation or something like that. No, she understood. This is the stuff that was going on with me and all that in a way that led me to make those kinds of decisions at that part in my life. And I don't have to be afraid of that anymore. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Do you see? I don't have to be afraid of that anymore. That's what that. Pretty cool. Other thoughts, questions? Wow. How about wow points from this morning already? Anything?
The approach avoidance conflict makes me think of escape avoidance and how they might be just opposites, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, gang, every one of these, once again, I'm going to say it again, it's not that every client is going to have every one of these things going on or happening. But you need to, and what did I say the other day when we got this back out, is this is one of those things, keep this taped somewhere in your office. Always remind yourself of these things. Another big issue is, and this is a big, and we're going to spend a whole bunch of time with this one next semester, when we talk about the counseling relationship and counter transfers and all that. And what is this? The counselor-client fit relationship problem. It can be a major issue, and it's especially a major trial of the true integrity and grit of the counselor. Are you going to someday, at least once in your counseling career, and probably more than once, are you going to be finding yourself sitting across the table, over the desk, or someone with a person who's a client, and there's just something inside you that I don't like you. I don't care about you. You see what I'm saying? I don't. There's nothing. I don't like you. And then on top of that, there's going to be things about. Have you ever had that where there was no good reason, you just didn't like somebody?
It's actually part of how the brain processes. I've heard somewhere within the first 6 seconds of seeing someone, your brain relates them to someone else you may have known in your
Or
life.
some other classical conditioning thing.
And assigns.
Exactly. But have you had that experience? There's not a good reason here, but I don't like you. I am not going to be able to invest my emotional energy in your welfare. I don't like you. Does that make sense? Have you had that experience? We all have. Are you going to have that with a client? Yes. And again, for no good reason. And then, let's throw in the good reasons. We all got what we're going to be talking about next semester. What do I call them, John? The buttons. Button. Who's got the button? What are the things about people that piss you off? Think about that. What is it about people? What's it about people that, what do we call it sometimes, your pet peeve? What is it about people that just piss you off? The first thing is there's no good reason. Whereas there really is, I just don't like you. But then we got reasons. Who's got a button? What's a button? Anybody? This is something about people that just pisses me off. Anybody?